Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. We are here to preview Week 16 in the NFL. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis. With me, I've got a returning guest making a long overdue return to the show. Back with us today is Eagles fan Cam McFarlane. Cam, how have things been?
Not bad at all, mate. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since I've been on and been able to have a chat with you. But it's always good to be on here and to have a chat. And it's always good coming into that off the back of us winning 10 games on the bounce, which is always nice as well. It's a good spot to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine after maybe the first week of the season, if you came on, you may have had, sorry, not the first game, when the first loss happened, you might have had different thoughts. But, we'll go on to Eagles in a bit. But you've got to be happy with how the season's gone.
100%. Yeah. It's looking nice for us at the moment. And I think I'm sort of quietly confident we might even nick number one, but it's going to be tight. There's obviously three teams in the running for it with us and the Lions, who've been fantastic all year, and the Vikings, who have just sort of gone under the radar at 12-2 a little bit almost.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's with, again, we'll go on to the Lions, but the injuries they've got, I think there's definitely a spot open for them to, not be the number one seed. So it's going to be interesting. I think the NFC North is amazing that the Packers are third in that division, but yet they've got more wins than I think 4 division leaders, and I think there's many others that are on all the teams at third place in the NFL, apart from the Packers, have got 6 wins or less. Apart from the Chargers and Seahawks. So it's just amazing to show that they're 10-6, one that would have them winning many divisions this year, but they're in third. So it just shows the strength of that division. And I think it's going to be, really strong playoffs in terms of the NFC. I think, if I'm honest, NFC might be a more interesting playoff than the AFC, if I'm honest. But
yeah, the way it's looking, I think you're right. And like I say, looking at that division, like you've got 3 teams there that should all be absolutely could be winning divisions in other divisions, and like one of the Vikings and the Lions could possibly end up only losing 3 games and being the number 5 seed, which is bonkers.
It's insane. Considering as well that there's this debate happens every year when you should seed them by your record rather than your division. But you think about the fact that the Rams are on 8 wins. And also, I think the Buccaneers on 8 wins or 7 wins, but yeah, they're winning their division. But yet the Packers are on 3 wins more, and or even the Vikings, they're on 12 wins, and they've lost 2 games all year. They're not even top of their division. Yeah. So they'd be number 1 seed and potentially in the AFC with that record. So yeah, it's a really exciting division and really exciting playoffs. And it starts off on Thursday night this week, where Denver Broncos take on the Los Angeles Chargers in LA. 1:15 a.m. at SoFi Stadium. I'm going for a Broncos win. I hope it's a Broncos win because our last chance of sneaking into playoffs is through the Chargers bottling.
You are seriously holding out some hope still there, aren't you? Clinging on to everything that you can.
Yeah, I looked at the scenarios and it's like the Chargers have to lose all their games, or the Ravens have to lose some games. It's a real tall order, and I think it's a shame that the Chargers did lose to the Buccaneers, because I think if we had, I think we should have beaten the Texans on the weekend just gone, we had a chance to do it, we'd be sitting here 1 win behind the Chargers in the 7th seed, and they could lose to the Broncos, we could beat the Niners, and they could be level heads. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one for you, that, but I think at least you've still got to believe while there's still a chance. Is that we almost need the gift just to flash it up, don't we? Just so you're telling me there's a chance.
I used that exact meme a few weeks ago, and you never know. And I think if the Broncos do beat the Chargers, that would mean there would be a spot open to go 1 win behind them against all beat the Niners. But it's the best chance to beat the Niners in years. They're banged up, and I'm hoping that we'll get onto that later on. But I think this game alone, I think the Denver Broncos are just. I was really hard on the Chargers a few weeks ago, but now I'm not as certain on them, doing as well as I thought they might do. I still think they make the playoffs. I still think they get the 7th seed, but I don't view them as a dark horse like maybe I did a few weeks ago. But I think Denver win in LA as well. I just think Bo Nix has been arguably the best quarterback in the rookie class, and I think Sean Payton's done an excellent job in proving me and many others wrong. Cam, Who wins this game for you, Chargers or Broncos?
Yeah, it's a really tight one. I think the Chargers, you just look at them and think they should be a good football team, and they sort of flatter to deceive a lot of the time. And I think this is one again where I think we just see. No, I'm going. You know what? I'm going against you. I'm sticking. I'm going to take them just as the home side, and that little advantage. If they were rocking up into Denver, I don't think that I'd fancy them. But at home, maybe just going to nick it. Close though, last minute field goal.
That's interesting. The first game we've gone differently. I mean, last time we had no week 15 preview. We had a week 14 preview, and it took us until like game 9 or game 10 to have me and Keg different prediction winners. So we've already gone for different scores. Maybe that's the theme of the episode. Maybe we're going to have every score prediction
all the way through, just every single one different. I like it. I don't mind that at all.
And before we carry on as well, in that week 14 preview, I did stink up the gaff. I had 7 correct predictions, whereas Keg had 10. So still is me leading the way, and also at the bottom of the leaderboard through my week 3, which only had 6 correct scores, and then my predictions just the other week in. I've literally forgotten what week it is already, but I do lead the way with 16 correct scores, and I'm trying to find it now. Oh, it was week 13. So yeah, currently I both lead the leaderboard, but also bottom of the leaderboard. So
fantastic. Ended. I like it.
And before we carry on as well, don't forget, if you are upset of DraftKings being come to a close, you can head over to fantasygameday.app for your chance to win some money back on your first lineup by using code Andy5 when you create an account. Now we've got our annual tradition of having Saturday games, the last Saturday before Christmas. I mentioned it in the last episode. Every year we go for, me and my friends from home, friends from school, we go for a meal at the same restaurant, always the last Saturday before Christmas. So once again, I'll be able to watch these games sort of behind time and catching up. But we've got 2 crackers. We've got, as it stands, all 4 teams are gonna, unless we see a massive bottle job from both AFC North teams, all 4 teams playing on Saturday are going to be in the playoffs. And our first game is Houston Texans at the Chiefs, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the Ravens. These games are on at 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. respectively in the UK. A bit earlier if you're listening in America. Now, Texans Chiefs. Now, Cam, I'll let you go first on this one. Who wins, Chiefs or Texans?
Thanks for that. It's one you didn't fancy picking, that, isn't it?
Mine's very easy what I'm picking, but I want to get your.
I think we just keep seeing it, that they just keep winning games. And I think it's hard to get away from the Chiefs just keep winning games, especially at Arrowhead as well. I think I've got to stick with the 13-1 leaders of the AFC.
Interesting. We've gone different again. I'm going for the Texans to win. If it weren't for Mahomes' injury doubts last week, I would have probably had the Chiefs winning this game. But I just feel like they're in a position where they can afford to probably lose a game. If they lose the game and the Bills win, there'll still be a win clear of the 2 seeds. So I think I could see him either resting Mahomes, starting Carson Wentz, or we're going to see potentially a limited Mahomes, maybe more of a run-heavy sort of game plan. And I think, Pacheco's a great running back and they could do some stuff there. But I just feel like the Texans, maybe a little bit of a high after winning that division last week, much to my dismay. And I just feel like, despite the Texans' problems with the defensive line, and I think there have been some problems, and I don't think they have been a great division-winning team. I think there's been some problems there. I just think that it's the one week you want to play the Chiefs when their quarterback's a bit banged up. So I'm going to give the Texans a win in Arrowhead. But come the playoffs, I wouldn't say the same thing. If everything's going right, Mahomes is healthy, I would stand him no chance. But I think with his injury, I think he got a chance. And
would you go as far as resting him this weekend? I'd be tempted to. I don't think they will. I think he'll play, but I'd be tempted to let him sit and just let Carson run out there for a week.
I would, because like I said before, I think they can afford to lose the game. And they could even still win this game even without Mahomes. Texans haven't been.
He's not done much since he left the Eagles, but Carson can still play this game. There's a lot worse backups out there, I'd say.
Exactly, and I think as well we've seen with Malik Willis that if you got good coaching, you can actually still have a good role at the backup. I mean, Willie Willis was terrible at the Titans, and I, still would love Mike Vrabel at the Dolphins as the head coach. But you think about Matt LaFleur, the job he's done since Rodgers left, and what he's done with Jordan Love, and I think Malik Willis comes straight in, does a great job, and I think you see we lose a quarterback like Tua, and Skylar Thompson comes in, Tyler Huntley. When the coaching maybe isn't the best, they don't perform well. Whereas if you've got someone like Andy Reid, who's the best coach in the league, I think he could. I don't think you can turn Carson Wentz to MVP kind of performances, but I think certainly he can be functional and do a job and get them the win. But I don't know. I can see the way Mahomes sort of way he lives and the way he is, his mentality. I think he'll want to play regardless. I just think that maybe he'll have a tough day out there and then go on and win all the rest of the games and win a Super Bowl. So I think they may have an off day, but I will give the Texans to win. Other game is Steelers at Ravens. This is actually one that's tougher to predict. But I'm going for your tactic, Cam. I'm going for the home team. I'm going for the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson proved last week, albeit against a poor opponent, that he is still an MVP candidate. And for me, I can see at home as well, Lamar Jackson. Although it's AFC North battle, and these games are always more tight and they're always different compared to other games the Ravens have. And he has struggled against Steelers in a lot of his career. But I think at home, I think he'll get the win. But Cam, Steelers or Ravens?
We're going the other way again. I just think that Steelers defense is legit. And I think that when he does come up against a serious defense, I think Lamar can fall short quite often. And this is a huge game in terms of going and winning the division. And I think when it comes down to it, it's not just in the playoffs that he loses it. I think he does it in this one as well. When it's on the line, I think we see a late pick from him that ends it, and then they run the clock out.
Interesting. Moving on to the Sunday slate. Again, that probably would have a bit more hype before the season started. Maybe not, I don't know. The Cleveland Browns at the Bengals. Now, I don't know what game's on Sky. I can assume it's going to be Eagles Commanders, but I'm not too sure.
Pretty sure it is 95% sure that it is us against the Commanders on Sky.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, maybe you could argue Lions Bears just because of the Lions being the number one seed, but there's absolutely no way I think anyone's tuning in to watch the Browns at them. But they take on the Bengals, and I'm going to give the Bengals the win. I think with Dorian Thompson-Robinson playing over Winston, I don't think that's any improvement at all, any sort of upgrade on Winston. And I think the Bengals, despite their defensive problems, I don't think they'll be really tested in that area by Thompson-Robinson. And then their offense has been really good. They've scored 30 points in multiple games this year. I think Burrow and the supporting cast he has are gonna get the job done.
Yeah, I'm with you. First one we're going the same on. That Brown side is just not good enough to go and beat the Bengals. Bengals score a lot of points, and yes, they've managed to lose a lot of those games because they have been so bad on the back end. But I don't see that happening here. I just think that they'll just outscore them. Maybe Cleveland will put up 14 points, 17 points maybe, but they'll be way out of this game before it gets anywhere near close to the end.
Tell you what, the Bengals are 6-7. If they can get a win here, the Chargers lose that Thursday night game. They'll only be one win behind the playoff spot. And I was thinking at one point in the 2 weeks ago, do the Bengals just rest Burrow, keep him healthy for next season, and just write it off? But now,
you've still got a chance. You've got to keep going, haven't you? You can't afford to just on that off chance that you sneak in and then go win a couple of playoff games, and you never know what happens.
I think the Bengals, their defense has been a problem, but I think that offense could literally, like the Bills recently, you score 43, we'll score 45. And I think the Bengals could have that sort of, and I think that sort of end of the season, and they can get that sort of hot form going. And they proved in the playoffs a few years ago that they can get on these hot streaks and go far in the playoffs. So, yeah, don't write them off just yet. But I think, if the Chargers do win, I think that's both Dolphins and Bengals seasons done, and the Colts for that matter. Next up is Giants against Falcons. I think this game doesn't need much explaining. I mean, Kirk Cousins bench for Michael Penix Jr., and I think the Giants are pretty bad. So I'm going to give the Falcons a win. I'm going to give Penix Jr. his first career win on his first career start. And the Falcons still pushing for NFC South. I think this will be, what they'll need to do that. The Buccaneers have got Dallas. That's probably, on paper, an easy game for them. But you never know. Dallas could easily at home cause them a shock. So the Falcons have to keep going. And this could be this is a great chance to get back to winning ways against the Giants. But Cam, for you, Giants or Falcons?
Yeah, I'm with you as well. It's if there's anyone you want to play at the moment in your first ever NFL start, give me the Giants all day long because they are awful at the moment, and I just can't see them beating a Falcons side that can just lean on the run if they need to. Even that's the great thing about this first start. Like you can just feed Bijan and feed Tyler Algier, and just you don't even need to throw it a lot for his first start, and still can comfortably come away with the win.
Yeah, I think it's as good a start as you can hope for a player to have that sort of level of opponent who I think they're clearly tanking now. So they're clearly aiming for that number 1 overall pick. Cam, next up, we've got the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals traveling to the Carolina Panthers. Now, I want to give a shout out to friend of the show, Ollie Kent, big Cardinals fan, big sort of coaching figure in the British game. He is in Arizona at the moment. He's not going to a game because happen to be both games he's there. They're away from home. He's got a family over there, or girlfriend's family over there. So yeah, if you listen to this podcast, hope you enjoy your first experience at the Cardinal Stadium, albeit Stadium tour, not a game. But I hope you have a good time regardless. But yeah, for you, Cam, is Ollie going to see his team win or see his team lose?
He's going to see his team win. The Panthers are again another one that you want to be up against. I'm still a big fan of Kyler Murray, and it's not just because I'm only about 3 foot tall as well. But I just think when he's on his day, he's just so unpredictable. Like he can beat you with his legs, but he can beat you with his arm as well. He's got everything there, and I just think that they'll be much too strong for this Panthers side. I
agree. I mean, they've had their inconsistencies, but when they played against someone like the Patriots last week, who aren't a good team, they put up a clinic, and I think we'll see a similar thing here. I think the Panthers have really improved recently. I think Bryce Young has been excellent in recent weeks. He's really improved. And I think the defense has had some good moments as well, albeit they're still losing games. So I think the Panthers is definitely a team that are on the rise. I think next season could be one to look out for them. But right now, I don't think that's possible. And I think, the Cardinals are still pushing for that playoff spot, albeit it's small chances. But I think the Cardinals get the win here. Now, I wanted to go for a shock here and say the Lions would lose to the Bears with all their injuries. Ali McNeil out for the season, David Montgomery out for the season. We already know what happened with Hutchinson. And I think that could be a problem in the postseason. But I think this game, even without those three, the Bears aren't a good team right now. They're in a bit of a rut. Interim head coach, it wasn't great last time out for them. So I'm going to give the Lions a win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Lions do lose again before the end of the season, but I don't think this is the game that they lose. This Bears team has just got a way of losing games. Like the competitive and get themselves in there and just managed to keep losing games, which is not a habit that you want. And like I say, there is still so many weapons on that Lions side that even without Montgomery, Gibbs can run the running back position on his own. He doesn't need a mate like Monty to be able to do it. And yeah, they've got 16 players on IR just on the defense, which is nuts, but they still will put enough points up, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a stacked roster. I think one thing they've done, which might help them in terms of the injury problems. And I think we saw it with, they lose Hutchinson against Dallas, and they've gone out and won all but one of the games since, or maybe all but two. I can't think whether they lost the game at that point, but they've gone out and win games without him. And I think they've brought in a lot of depth. They've brought in a lot of veteran players in. So I think I think Montgomery will be less of a loss potentially because you still got Jahmyr Gibbs there, and I know you had the 1-2 tandem, but I think Craig Reynolds could do somewhat of a job. Not as good as Montgomery did, but I think they did work well together. Sonic and Knuckles and that kind of all the nicknames they got together. But I think McNeil will be a big miss, and I don't know whether they got the people to come in for that. But I think the coaching staff have got Dan Campbell an amazing job. I still see him at least being the second seed, if not the first seed. I think they'll still be absolutely fine. But I do, I said before the season started, I think the Packers win the NFC, and I'm still standing by this, and even more so now the injuries have happened. So yeah, I think they'll be fine in this game. Next up, you mentioned small playoff chances. The Colts have still got a chance. They're on the same amount of wins as the Bengals and Dolphins. They have got the game advantage over the Dolphins because of the tiebreaker. So they'll be looking to capitalise on any losses for those two teams and for the Chargers as well. They host the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think the Titans could be on shock alert, but I'm going to give the Colts the win anyway. I think Richardson's finding his feet. I think there was that awful stat line from Adlai Mitchell. But either way, they didn't do well in the last game against the Broncos, but the Broncos are firing right now. I can see them getting back to winning ways at home as well against their division rivals in the Titans.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pick the upset as well here, but I'm just not sure I can have enough faith in the Titans side to be able to do it. Like, I think they played a little bit better against the Bengals last week, but they still got beat by 10 points against a truly awful defense with the Bengals. So, yeah, I just think it'll be probably scrappy and it'll be close and it'll probably be quite low scoring. But I fancy that when it comes down to it, that Indianapolis will get the win.
Yeah, and next up, we have one of the most informed teams in the league, in the LA Rams, facing up against one of the most out-of-form teams in the league. In the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium, I think this is pretty easy. Give me the Rams. I think not much more can be said about this game. I think it's a pretty easy one to predict.
Yeah, again, another team that just no faith in whatsoever. Like Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, GM, general manager, coach, he's doing everything because he just won't be told what to do by anyone, and he's doing a pretty damn bad job of it at the moment. So yeah, give me the Rams all day.
Well, next up, Cam, it involves your team in the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders in Washington. Now, this game will secure the division. You've already secured the playoffs. That's already in the bag. But this game, with a 3-game gap over the Commanders, with 3 games left, you can end any small hope they had of winning the division, and you can secure the NFC East. Cam, are you doing it this weekend?
You think I'm going anywhere but an Eagles win here? You're sorely mistaken. It's not even close. We absolutely blow them out here. No, I don't think that at all. I think Jaden Daniels has been excellent this year. I think that the Washington side, it's a good side, and they've probably surprised a few people in how good they have been this year. But the way we're playing on defense at the moment, I don't think that a rookie's coming in at quarterback and beating us. I just don't see it. He played okay against us first time round, but a lot of that was sort of when the game was already done. And I think we'll see the same again. I just think we were incredible on defense against the Steelers the other day. Like, we kept, even when we weren't playing well on offense early on, we just keep ourselves in games and ahead of teams by just being so good on that side of the ball. And then it allows all the weapons on offense to do sort of what they like because they've got a bit of freedom. So, yeah, I think it's an Eagles win for me and division clinched.
Because we saw last year, I got the Eagles winning as well. I mean, we saw last year, you start the season so well and obviously collapse, but you've lost Kelsey, obviously Barkley's come in. The O-line doesn't seem quite as bad as we thought it might have been, and obviously Barkley's been an amazing addition. What do you put down to how, because not much else has changed apart from that. You've still got, you lost big leaders, but you still got, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith there. You still got, Jalen Carter on defense and everyone else there involved. You brought back CJ Gardner-Johnson, and what do you put down to how well the season's gone so far? Is it just because of Barkley, or do you think maybe Nick Sirianni's just improved his coaching game? How are you viewing the season so far, and how sort of well you guys have improved compared to what was a collapse last season?
Yeah, I think we drafted really well. Obviously, you look at Quinyon Mitchell, who's just been an absolute revelation at corner, and Cooper DeJean as well, who's just been unbelievable. I must have watched that highlight of him picking Derrick Henry up and dumping him on the floor about 1,000 times. Like your little nickel cornerback just smashing big grown man Derrick to the floor was just wonderful to see. So they've been 2 great additions. Like you say, CJ coming back on at safety as well, a position that we really sort of needed a bit of help as well. And then you look at in the middle, linebacker's been a position that we've struggled at for years and years. And then you look at Nakobe Dean now and Zach Bourne have just made that position their own and performing right up there with the best in the league. we still managed to get enough pressure on the quarterback as well. Even and you still got people like Brandon Graham until he got injured, still doing things up the middle as well. And then obviously, like I say, Jalen Carter's just an absolute wrecking ball. He's possibly the best D lineman in the league right now. But then, like I say, you look at the O-line's been fantastic as well. Like you look at losing possibly like one of the best centers to ever play the game, and we've not really skipped a beat. Like we've just stayed well. Like and then you look at like Mekhi Becton at right tackle, right guard. Sorry, like the Jets didn't want him, just chucked him away. First round pick, unbelievable athlete, and he's just found a home alongside Lane on that right hand side of the line. And then Jordan Mailata's just wonderful player on the left hand side as well. We're just stacked with great players. And then, like I say, I mean, we can't not talk about Saquon. Saquon has been, he's MVP for me. Forget your Josh Allens, forget Derrick Henry. I don't want any of them. I want Saquon in my team. That's all. That's the only player that I want. And I still can't get over how the Giants just let him walk. And I just let him come to a divisional rival and just come and be an absolute difference maker. And that proper every down back that can just do it all. I was gutted that he only got sort of 60 yards this week in the win over Pittsburgh. Because he's probably now going to struggle to break the record. He needed 121 yards a game, I think it was, before last week. That's obviously gone up considerably now. But then again, he could just roll in tomorrow and put 200 up. So you just never know. That depends which way we decide to go. We decided to throw it last week because apparently Jalen can't throw it and we're not very good at passing it. And then we just absolutely cut up a very good Steelers defense. So yeah, we can do it all. And I think that's the thing. We can win the game in so many ways and we can just bully teams.
Yeah, I want to thank the Eagles for passing it after my fantasy league season ended because I had Devontae Smith and he was such a disappointment on fantasy. It seemed like 1 week he'd get points, and next week he wouldn't get any points at all. And I'd be watching games where getting it off Saquon Barkley, be getting the lion's share of the touches.
Yeah, it tended to be when I was playing against Saquon that he tended to have his biggest games as well. Just put up 40 points against you, and you sort of
it's just game over at that point, isn't it? I remember that Alvin Kamara won years ago again. It was against the Vikings on Christmas Day. Where he just got like 6 touchdowns or something, and it was just like
it's a ridiculous stat. It was over like 70 points or something in the end. Like just going, I just can't play against that. It doesn't matter what I do. That's completely just defeated me.
I think you go back to the Barkley thing. I mean, you think about Barkley, McCaffrey, both having similar sort of trajectories in terms of being the bell cow in 2 dysfunctional franchises, going to 2 well-run organizations in the Niners and Eagles, and both of them seem to have no injury problems. They get just as productive. And you think about other players like Sam Darnold going to a good coaching system. We talked about just then about Mekhi Becton going to a stable franchise, well-run, well-coached team. I think it just goes to show again that you can have all the. And I've done a piece last week on the Jaguars, how they had all these first-round picks, but because it's been dysfunction, not well coached, they've wasted these first-round picks they've had. Whereas you think about you guys taking, DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, where a team missed on them, Jalen Carter, the same thing. The Rams taking all these defensive studs in the 2nd and 3rd round. It just shows that it doesn't matter how bad you've been or how many first rounders you've got to have the coaching staff in place, the sort of scouting in place to do their proper due diligence on these players. So I think
it's to pick them and then it's to develop them, and like we have been so good at that recently, and it's just taken our team to another level. Like I knew that we'd hit well on Quinyon and Cooper DeJean. They were the 2 that I really wanted in the draft. It's where we needed massive help, and it's what I wanted us to go for. I thought we can get one of them if we trade up a bit. We've managed to not even have to trade up to get Quinyon, which was mental, and then also still then be able to trade up and get Cooper DeJean after. There's a wonderful video of it of Howie and Jeff and Hillary in the war room, and when the Rams traded up and the Rams took, who did they take on defense? I can't remember, but who's had a wonderful season on the line. Yeah, they obviously took him, but Like at that moment when the Rams traded up, you see Howie go, "Oh, it's over," because they thought they were taking DeJean, and then as soon as they didn't, you see Howie just go, "Yes," and then like straight away makes the call, makes the trade, and picks him. So yeah, it's to be able to hit on both of them, and both of them come in and make a difference straight away as well. Like from game one, Quinyon has just been a lockdown corner, and then obviously it took a few more games for DeJean to come into it, but terrified every time that we stick him on punt returns. Like, just put someone else on them. I don't want him getting hurt returning a punt. Like, he's too important on the defense.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and how once again these guys have fallen to you. And I think, me personally, it's him, Les Snead, who I think is the best, and Brad Holmes as the three best GMs in the league. I might miss someone out, but they're the three I think about when I think of good GMs. Moving on now to the later slate, the 9:05 kickoff sees the Seattle Seahawks host the Minnesota Vikings. Cam, who wins it for you, Seahawks or Vikings?
I think this is a really good game. I think it's the Seahawks sort of, I feel like they're a better team than the record. And they're not a team that I ever really would want to play, especially not in Seattle as well. You know what it's like there with the crowd and the noise and the weather. It's tough to go and rock into there, especially sort of coming from Minnesota where they play inside now. Like, they don't play out in the weather anymore. Yeah, but they just keep finding a way to win Minnesota without looking like the best team in the world. They keep doing enough. And I think they just do it again. I think this is tough. They've got a really tough run in, but I think they've got the Packers, the Seahawks, and the Lions the last three games, which is horrendous little running. But I think this is one that they win, and I think they keep pushing themselves on to give themselves a chance of going into that last game against the Lions, where it's all or nothing for who takes the spot, which could well be the number one spot if we don't get there.
That's going to be really interesting. That's going to be fascinating, because I think I'm going to be somewhere for my 30th. I don't know where I'm going yet. My girlfriend surprised me with this 30th birthday trip away. Hopefully wherever I go can show some American football, because
if you don't plan it with some in there, then you need to be having a word, I think, at that point.
I think Liverpool play Man U as well on the same day, but obviously that's before the NFL starts. But I'm thinking about, there's that last game between the Vikings and the Lions, and also there's the last day, I think, has the Rams taking on the Seahawks. I think they could be quite level in terms of wins at that point. So I think the NFC seems pretty set in terms of the three wildcard spots, and I think the AFC, that could be a bit of one. But I think certainly for these divisions, especially one like the Rams and Seahawks, where only one team really will make the playoffs. I don't think both teams are going to make the playoffs. I don't think, or maybe one could sneak in above the Cardinals, maybe. But I think we could see a last day where it is either Seahawks against Rams or Vikings against Lions, which it probably would be if these turned out how they would on Sunday Night Football. So yeah, it should be another in the NFL, another great last day of the season.
What we all want to see. We all want to see big, meaningful games on that last weekend. Like, we've got the Giants, we're just walking through there. That doesn't really matter. So if we're in with a shout, or we're in number one spot at that point, we're getting it, and it doesn't really matter our game because we ain't losing to them. But those other games, like big, proper, meaningful games on the last weekend, like winning in or winning number one, it's what we all want to see.
You can't beat it. Nothing beats for me. There was one where I think it was when the Bills got back in for the first time in years. I think, was it the Ravens against the Steelers or Bengals? It was Bengals-Ravens on the last day. I think Andy Dalton threw a touchdown, which got the Bills in and sent the Ravens out. And then I think, was it the Bill fans donated money towards Andy Dalton's charity or something? So I know that little thing where the players were watching on the big screen, I think it was as well. And that was just amazing sort of footage. And yeah, that's what we love with NFL, especially if you're the neutral fan, especially if it's not your team involved. I think it could be such a great thing watching a amazing thing. And I think actually one thing I love,
when you turn red zone off and put the game on, isn't it? That's what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't care about what's going on anywhere else. We just want to watch this one.
I think I love the one. It was probably my top 10 games of all time, which sounds crazy, but it was a Raiders-Steelers game, where the Raiders-Chargers game, where both teams could have got in with a tie, and it got into overtime. It was getting to like a minute and a half left of the game, And then I think Brandon Staley called a timeout, and then the Raiders had changed their game plan. And it's alleged that they were going to go for the timeout, and then when Brandon Staley put the timeout on the board, I think that's when they changed the game plan and went for it. But that game was amazing because there was a whole thing about Big Ben's last game. Has he had it? Has he got one game left in the playoffs? And there was that whole thing. Do they still for the tie? Do they go and win? That was an amazing game. That's one of my favourite memories from the last day of the regular season. Now, next up is two teams that I'm not too fond of in the Bills and the Patriots in Buffalo, as the Buffalo Bills look to try and keep a small hope of winning that number one seed in the AFC. And I think they will win this game pretty convincingly. You got, for me personally, the MVP up against one of the least viable teams right now in the NFL. I think the Bills win.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go too much on this one. Comfortable Bills win as well.
And then we've got the Toilet Bowl as the Raiders host the Jags. Definitely, I remember we played the Bengals a few years ago where, no, it was the Bengals where they were saying it's the Tank Bowl. And I think these two teams both been terrible.
Yeah, they're fighting out with the Giants, these two, aren't they, for who gets the pick first next year. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this. Which one of them is good enough at being bad to lose this game is basically what we're looking at. And I think that the Jags are just a little bit too stupid and they'll win it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they're less quarterback needy.
Yeah.
So they might, the Jag, I think the Raiders are set on getting a quarterback, whereas the Jags still need the number one pick as much. Obviously, they could trade away, make some good picks out of it, like the Bears did a few years ago with the Panthers. But, I think I have trust more in Mac Jones and Desmond Ridder. That's where I see it as well. And I think Mac Jones has not been great, but I think he's definitely better than, I think.
Good connection with Brian Thomas, though, which battered my fantasy team this week as well. But yeah, he does seem to have found a good connection with him, which I think will help them along. You
mentioned fantasy. Actually, I want to quickly touch on our charity fantasy league. We had our guest league and our listener league. The listener league was won by Tim Rudge, who actually became a guest on the show after he joined the league. He won at the start. Money will be going towards NSPCC, and that has already been donated. And then also as well, our guests fantasy league, James Gowers beat Ollie Hope from Third and Long podcast for the division win, for the championship win. And that money on that pot goes towards the Cancer Research UK. And I think in total we raised about £350, £375. So all round, been a great year. Once again, some money donated to charity. And if you want to play next year, hit me up on the DMs, any of you listening, and you can join our Listeners League for next season. All you need to do is donate £5 to the GoFundMe link when it gets released later on in the off season. Next up is my team as the Dolphins host the 49ers. Now, I said before, it's the best time to play the Niners. It's just been a banged up team. They got a very small hope of making the playoffs, but I think, let's be honest, it's all but done. I don't see any way to make the playoffs. And I think we win as a result of that. We got more to fight for. I think we're at home as well. I think Tua hasn't done well against teams winning records, but the Niners haven't got a winning record. So I think he might win this game. As much as I had a huge rant about him in the last episode, I can see him having some sort of resurgent performance against the Niners. And I think the Dolphins win, but I don't think it'll be a pretty win.
No, but I'm with you on that. I think you do as well. I am very much enjoying watching the Niners at the moment. just don't really like them. I just don't. And watching them struggle this season, it's quite fun. And yeah, I think you're playing better football than them at the moment. I think Tua's looked all right since he came back from his 953rd concussion.
I'm not so sure about that. I have my doubts. I think he only looks good against really bad teams. I think he's still.
Yeah, but I think the Niners are a really bad team right now, so I think he's good.
Sorry, Paul Hope, if you're listening.
I know, yeah. Paul will be straight in the DMs.
Yeah, no, it's been a disaster for them. But yeah, I think Tyreek Hill's had I think last week was his first game. Either it was his first game, or he still hasn't had a 30-yard reception since week one. I think he may have had it against the Texans. I can't quite remember. But before the game last week, he's not had a 30-yard reception since week one, which is crazy when you think about it.
For him, like you expect sort of one a game minimum, or like some games you expect like 2 or 3 80-yarders for a touchdown. Like it's just the way that he plays the game. So it's nuts, but he's just not had a good season, has he? He's just not been anywhere near the level that we've seen from him over the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
No, exactly. And even with, you were thinking maybe when you had all these backup quarterbacks playing, you could put it down to, okay, the quarterback isn't playing well. But Tua has done all right, and he's had these good stats put up, against these three wins against the Raiders, Pats, and Jets. You think about even the Bills games, the Cardinals games we lost, he put up a good fight there. Still, Hill didn't get involved. Got a few touchdowns, but it hasn't looked the same. And I do fear that it is father time for him. I think, especially players with speed, they can often be the first to go.
Explosive, fast player, isn't it? Like time comes quicker for you than it might do for someone that's got like someone like look at like AJ Brown, who could still just, even if he loses his speed a little bit, he's that big, strong, sort of big body that can just fight for the ball and win the ball on sort of quick slants or things like that. He's someone that, for Hill, the way that he plays the game, it's all about his speed. If he starts to lose a step slightly, that's sort of, you're going to struggle.
Well, we had our game next week against the Browns has been flexed. And I'm surprised this one hasn't been flexed, as the Cowboys host the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. I've gone for the Buccaneers to win. It's in Dallas, but I just think what I saw from the Buccaneers offense, particularly against the Chargers defense, that has been excellent all season long, was really impressive. And I think the Cowboys haven't been great. I mean, they've probably should have beaten the Bengals, but it hasn't been great from really all season long. And I just think the Buccaneers have got a lot more to play for, and I think Baker Mayfield could put on a bit of a show in Dallas. For me, I'm going to give the Bucs to win.
Yeah, you're a bit like I was never going to not pick the Eagles. I ain't picking the Cowboys to win anything. Not a chance. Even though, to be honest, I would quite like them to win this weekend, because I do not want to roll up against the Bucs at any point in the playoffs, because Baker Mayfield and the Bucs just seem to have a way of beating us. He gets the ball out really quick against every time, gets no pressure on him whatsoever, and just seems to be able to beat us in big games. And I don't want to play them in January at all. So I would like the Cowboys to win this, but they're not going to, because they're not good enough. And the Bucs win this for me as well.
No, exactly. I think even with the performances of Homer Simpson this season for the Cowboys, I think they've struggled all round. It's been a disaster of a season for them. But finally, Monday Night Football, a team you mentioned a bit earlier, the Packers hosting the Saints. Going for Packers win. I think why wouldn't I? They're playing a pretty average team, a team that and the Packers are a team that I have backed to win the NFC since the start of the season. So why wouldn't I pick the Packers to win this game? I think they're hitting form at the exactly right time, and I think they could go down as one of the best 6 seeds in NFL history if the way it's going seems to be. I think the Saints have been pretty inconsistent. I think they are who we thought we were at the start of the year. Win first 2 games, don't win your next 5 or 6. Yeah, Saints aren't a good team. The Packers are brilliant on all areas of the field, and they've even got some players to come back as well. So, yeah, give me the Packers to win.
Yeah, me too. I think the Saints have sort of made a mess of this season, because they were, after they lost sort of 5-6 on the bounce, whatever it was that they lost early on in the season, it was sort of, you're looking at them and going, just tank at this point. Like, go and get yourself the number 1 pick. They could have done. They got rid of the head coach and then brought in someone who sort of got them a bit fired up. They've gone and won 3 games since then. They're nowhere near number 1 now. They're going to be picking sort of 6 or 7 maybe at this stage, maybe even later, and sort of played themselves out of a position that they should be in, which credit to them for not tanking. I know we all sit here and say, well, they should be doing, but that competitive spirit and playing the game properly and playing it on its merits, so you've got to give them credit for. But they aren't good enough to beat the Packers at Lambeau.
I agree. Well, our first 3 predictions were all different. Every single game since, we had the same predictions. So
yeah, it was seeming like a very, very interesting one to start with, and then we've managed to just go the same way on pretty much everything after that.
Well, we've all gone for wins for the Bengals Falcons, Cardinals, Lions, Colts, Rams, Eagles, Vikings, Bills, Jags, Dolphins, Bucks, and Packers. Whereas I went for a win for the Broncos over the Chargers. Cam went for the Chargers. Cam went for the Chiefs over the Texans. I went for the Texans. And I went for the Ravens to win over the Steelers. And Cam went for the Steelers. So that is where we will end our Week 16 preview. First of all, thank you, Cam, for coming on once again.
No problem. Thanks for having me. And as I said to you just off air before we started, I look forward to coming back the first week of February as a preview the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
I did a little look earlier onto the current playoff picture, and things could change in terms of seeding. But as it stands, I think I have the Lions playing the Packers in the divisional round, which I thought would be the championship game. And I have the Packers winning that game, so I can see it being Eagles-Packers in the NFC championship game. But I still have faith in the Packers; they're going to get the job done.
That'd be a great game. That'd be an unbelievable game if it comes down to it. I mean, it was the week start, the season starter week 1 in Brazil as well. So then end on that for the NFC Championship game would be nice. Well, end on it for the Packers. We'd have one more game afterwards.
But yeah, I don't see it being anyone but Eagles, Lions, and Eagles, Lions, or Packers for me. I don't see the Vikings getting out. I don't see the Buccaneers could, but no, I think they are the 3 strongest teams, I think, by some distance. Before we do go, actually, you have a darts podcast. Anyone listening who likes darts, Cam, tell them how they can find your podcast.
So you can find us at Online Darts. Also got a cricket one as well. I'm all over the place on podcasts. We've got the T20 Blast podcast of the cricket podcast as well. So yeah, Online Darts obviously really busy at the moment. The World Championships is on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, and obviously on the website as well. The daily sort of write-ups and previews and everything. So yeah, really busy at the moment. And then come back round to May and get yourself on the T20 Blast podcast, the best white ball competition that there is around in the cricket game. And yeah, come and follow me and Jarlath on that one.
You got a darts ball behind you. You can say no to this, but do you want to give us a quick 3-darter and see whether you can get any? I
would, but I played darts for our team last night, and my darts are still in the car. And otherwise, I would go and throw them. I'm not just throwing an excuse out there because I'm quite happy to say I'm a very, very average dart player.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, if you're a darts fan, do check out the podcast. We will tag it in socials when this podcast is released, as well as obviously Cam's social @tag as well. I probably butchered that last bit. But we will end the podcast there for our Week 16 preview with myself, Andy, your host, and our guest today, Eagles fan, Cam McFarlane. And we'll see you guys next time.